So that's how you save their marriage? That's pretty neat. Merry Christmas, everyone. My friend here was just reminding me of another of Dickens's Christmas stories, The Cricket on the Hearth. The Cricket on the Hearth, A Fairy Tale of Home, is a novella written by Charles Dickens. It was published as a book on December 20th, 1845. All of Dickens's Christmas novellas were published as books and not serials. I mentioned this briefly in last year's review of The Chimes. It's an interesting little tale, and it's a bit lighter than The Chimes. For a while, The Cricket on the Hearth was more popular on stage than A Christmas Carol. The story begins in the home of John Peerybingle, a common carrier who lives with his young wife Dot, their baby boy, and their nanny Tilly Slowboy. Decorating their home is a small cricket chirping on the hearth that acts as a guardian angel to the family. One day, an old man comes by and stays at the Peerybingles' house for a few days. Now, there's another major character in the story, Caleb Plummer, a poor toy maker who works under the miserly Mr. Tackleton. Caleb has a son named Edward who is presumed dead. Caleb currently lives with his blind daughter Bertha. Caleb does his best to make the world seem wonderful to Bertha, but over time he is unsure if this is the right thing to do. Tackleton is planning to marry Edward's sweetheart, May, but she does not love Tackleton. She's only agreeing to the marriage since it's believed to be best for her. Tackleton notices that Dot is talking a lot with the old man, and at one point finds out that the old man isn't who he appears to be. He tells John that Dot has been cheating on him. John loves his wife, and later sees that Tackleton is right. The old man isn't who he appears to be. John plans to divorce his wife so that she may be happy, despite the cricket whispering that Dot is innocent. Well, it turns out that the mysterious old man was actually Edward Plummer in disguise. He's not dead! When Edward returned back from South America, he found out that May is soon to be married to Tackleton and decided to find someone he could trust. And that one person he could trust was Dot. They didn't tell John since John isn't the best at keeping secrets. Anyways, hours before May and Tackleton get married, Edward marries May. Dot shows that she has been faithful to John and would never leave him. Tackleton sees all this happiness and cheer and has a change of heart. Tackleton allows May to be with Edward. A celebration was held and everyone lived happily ever after. Well, that was fun. Let's get to a quick analysis. Dickens wanted to write a story focusing on the home instead of trying to focus on current events like many of his other stories. He was criticized for this at first, but like I said in the beginning, this story eventually became more popular than A Christmas Carol for a time. I like to think that the cricket represents the beauty of the home and hearth. It chirps frequently and is praised by Dot. When the cricket does its best to emphasize to John that Dot is innocent, it shows visions of Dot at her happiest and how good she's been to John. The cricket is there to remind the family of how much they love each other. Tackleton's change of heart is reminiscent of how Scrooge changed in A Christmas Carol. The only thing is, Tackleton just needed to see all the happiness radiating from these people instead of needing a visit from 3 ghosts. But who knows? Maybe 3 ghosts visited him the night before. Or heck, even the cricket stopped by to share a few words. Alright, there's a part that I failed to mention in the summary. Near the end of the story, Caleb tells Bertha that he had lied to her all these years in hopes of preserving her innocence. She doesn't quite understand at first and ends up asking Dot to describe everything honestly to her. Learning all of this hurts Bertha, but she understands why her father did it. It's similar to how parents will try to preserve their children's innocence since the world around them can be so cruel. I want to talk about John and Dot's relationship for a moment. The two have known each other for years. Now, Dot is significantly younger than John, and the story never fails to remind you of that. The reason John was considering divorcing his wife was not because he hated her, but because he believed that she had missed out on marrying someone her own age who she actually loved. He believed that she was missing spending time with someone else who was closer to her. That wasn't the case at all, but he loved her so much that he was willing to let her go if it meant she would be happy. Overall, I did like this story. I enjoyed the fairy tale vibe and the happy ending. While I wouldn't put it above A Christmas Carol, I do understand why it would have been preferred over A Christmas Carol for a period of time. The focus on home and hearth leads to a very pleasant feeling and ending. It's a cute little tale to tell at Christmas time. I'd recommend this story for ages 13 and up. The language is a little hard to understand, but that's to be expected since the story was written in 1845. There have been many adaptations of The Cricket on the Hearth. There were the 1909 and 1923 film adaptations, but there were also a couple of radio, television, and stage adaptations. There was also an animated adaptation in 1967 produced by Rankin Bass Productions, which many of you would know for their stop-motion Christmas specials like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa Claus is Coming to Town. But you may also be familiar with their animated Frosty the Snowman special. That was a fun, short read. It had a nice, feel-good ending. I hope many of you get a chance to take a look at it this Christmas season. Merry Christmas, everyone, and happy reading!